Okay, so it's gone. Okay, so this is going to be. Okay, you would be the
Somebody else wants to show us.
I'll let you expand that.
Of August?
Yes.
No, if you're in July.
No, oh wait, I'm
Well,
in
you're in, I was
Sep-
like, you're in a different,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
I was like, the 10th falls on a
No, no, no.
Thursday.
Okay, I'm next week,
Okay.
Sharon. The 13th.
Yep, it should be fine. I'll add it in there.
I'd call this meeting of the Timberville Town Council order, July 13th, 2023. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all. Okay, did everybody receive a copy of their minutes? I'm sure everyone's had a chance to review them. Any questions, any changes, amendments, or anything like that that Melinda needs to address on the minutes? Anybody? Yeah, I need a motion to approve if you also choose.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Sarah. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Debbie. We'll go around the room.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Okay. Treasurer's report. Everyone has all the account balances from Melinda. And the interests are getting off of the savings and the ARPA funds. The zoning activity. Any questions from Melinda? You got something?
I think so.
Go
No,
ahead.
I had to go to court last month for an accident that happened last year to recoup some funds that we had to spend on a police vehicle. So we are going to get reimbursed some money for a cruiser that we had to replace. It's between $8,000 and $9,000, so we will get some money back for that.
Whenever the person starts paying it back.
Yes.
Yes. Well, good job. Thank you. Any other questions from Melinda? Okay, bills for payment. Everyone has a copy of their bills. Questions on any line items on our bills? We'll do a quick meeting today. Any questions? Can I need a motion, please? Need a second?
Second.
Okay, we'll go around the room.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Chief, police report. What do you have for us?
Just a few things. As you know, when it comes to budget, I like to get projects taken care of as soon as possible. So the new budget's in place and the ARPA money was sent out through DCJS for specific law enforcement purchases. Including that budget, we bought 4 AEDs, automatic defibrillators, and we've already added deployment with one of the new ones. So the reason we needed to replace what we had was the old ones were made by Philips, and Philips doesn't support them anymore. You have to basically buy third-party batteries and third-party adhesive pads and stuff for them. Zoll is what we switched to, which is what Rockham County Fire Rescue uses. So the pads and the wires that go from the box onto the person, when Fire Rescue shows up, they can unplug from our box and plug it into their box without having to reapply pads. We're hoping to use their purchasing leverage to replace pads at a cheaper cost than what we're replacing anyway. But it's more seamless working with Fire Rescue, and it's a current product that's still being supported by the company, so that's important. Probably had it deployed for less than a week. We had first use. One of the officers responded to a possible cardiac arrest. One was in respiratory distress, appeared to be possibly gone into cardiac arrest. So he put the pads on her as prescribed. They were able to determine that she had a closed airway, opened the airway, and were able to bring her back to back without having to use the modern AED, it's smart enough that once you put the pads on it, it will tell you whether or not it needs to do its thing. So if that lady had needed the AED to shock her, it would have said stand clear, officer get back, it would shock, and then tell the officer to begin CPR or whatever you need to do next. So, artificial intelligence and computers and everything, sometimes it's scary, but sometimes it's a good thing. And with this particular situation, he deployed it because she appeared to be going into cardiac arrest, but they were able to bring her back through an airway obstruction being resolved. So we spent money on it, but other police departments that were on location did not have that equipment. So it's a good thing to have for our citizens and any other citizens that we happen to be able to respond to. Two other quick things. One of them is Officer Ray was able to go to an FBI leadership class. I believe that was in May, and I don't believe I told you all about it. It's Law Enforcement Executive Development Association is the organization that's connected to the FBI that does it. There's an opportunity if you work in a larger agency to go to the National Academy, which basically you go to the FBI Academy and you get to go through the whole thing that FBI agents do, and it's all police or law enforcement executives that do that. That's a big feather in your cap, because you learn a lot of things, make a lot of network connections to take back to your agency. But you have to be an agency big enough to be able to be going for 4 months and nobody notices you're going, right? So smaller agencies obviously don't have that ability. So LEDA is kind of fills the gap for that, and it works in 3 tiers. So the younger officers are able to go to the first step to get introduction to leadership, then there's a mid-tier, and then there's an executive level. And if you complete all 3, it's basically the LEDA trilogy of leadership. And that has a lot of, carries a lot of weight in the law enforcement world. So hopefully CK will be able to complete all 3 of them. He's got the first one done. We'll see what his opportunities are in the future. If you look at some of the issues other agencies have, a lot of times when you go outside to look for a new chief and you're not developing leaders internally, you can cause yourself a lot of problems. So really push education, training, and leadership development with our agency so that hopefully they'll stay here and be leaders and not go somewhere else. But I want Timberville to have leadership long after I'm gone. So that's a good step for that. Hopefully I get the opportunity. He will get the opportunity to do the other 2. Jeremy and I will go to the executive level, which is the 3rd tier. We didn't do the 1st or 2nd, and we'll go through that together. At some point when I retire, that'll be a good way for the 2 of us to work together for the last couple of years and get him prepared, hopefully, for the opportunity to be the chief here and for us to collaborate, knowing, having been through the class together. The last thing is, and we talked about it a little bit, the police committee, was how the cameras in town keep kind of paying dividends. I know some people are a little freaked out about having cameras around, that big brother thing, but if you're not doing anything wrong, you're just walking through the park, it doesn't really hurt anything. I don't know if the council knows about the vandalism to the sign at the boat launch.
Oh, I don't
No, I don't think we ever talked about that one.
It wasn't.
Well, it wasn't intentional vandalism. We actually have video of it. There was a gentleman, I believe, and his wife walking the dog down on the river. And as he came, it was a fairly large dog, and as he came up across, he climbed up across the boat launch, and the dog saw a squirrel and jerked and pulled him. And he stumbled because of all the uneven surface on the boat launch, and he slammed right into the brand new sign. The guys that put it up with the same day.
It was the same day or the day before?
Yeah, I think it was the same day, and bent the sign all the way around. And so
The public works obviously was pretty angry and upset that their brand new sign had been vandalized in one day. And we were able we collectively were able to go back and find that it was actually a true accident, not vandalism. But we had the vandalism of the picnic tables, which one of the officers, I worked with him, we ended up charging that person, and there's supposed to be restitution coming to pay for the picnic table. And then we had a traffic crash over here behind AutoZone the other day, and Austin went back and pulled up the video and zoomed in on it. Jeremy was working the crash, and the guy was like, "Oh yeah, a dog ran out in front of me." Well, Austin preemptively had already looked up the video and sent it to Jeremy, and Jeremy was like, "Well, I have a video." Anyway, yeah, I fell asleep. So, and you can clearly tell, because that's why rumble strips are on the side of the interstate. Now, you see the guy comes northbound on 42, makes a right at AutoZone, and just kind of keeps drifting real slow and easy off the right at the utility pole. And then, what was the other one? There's one more in the
Park
park.
vandalism.
So the park vandalism, we had a lot of vandalism in the bathroom. I think council might have got pictures of that from Chris. And so found out who the juveniles were that did that. Police department went down and approached the parents, and I don't know if it's been delivered yet, but an invoice has been worked up and given to the parents who said we'll pay for any damages, whatever it takes to get it cleaned up and corrected. So the cameras are definitely paying off. I mean, we've had other traffic accidents, especially out here in the intersection, that we've caught on the cameras. So.
That's all I have.
That's all you got? So public hearing supposed to be at 7:10, we're good on that? Yep. So I want to see, AC, do you want to say why we're here, what we're here
Yeah,
for?
yeah.
Then Paul and I will start our part.
So the town received a rezoning request from Mr. Turner, and it's for a 19.1 acre parcel of land right behind the Food Line Shopping Center. And it's the proposed, the reason for the rezoning is to have slightly increased density over what the current zoning is for it. The proposal is to put in 40 to 47 homes on that property. Part of the property is encumbered by, as you are familiar with, the swampy tree area, which I believe you told me that's going to stay there and kind of act as a natural drainage area.
That's right.
So all the property owners have been notified. It does require a public hearing to do a rezoning, and it's a joint public hearing. That's why we have planning commission here tonight, and we'll go through that process in a minute to get both of those things opened up the right way. But it's planning commission actually looked at this at their last meeting. Mr. Turner came in and talked to planning commissioner Bruce about that, and it's pretty simple, pretty straightforward. But all the property owners all the adjacent property owners were notified. Did receive some calls from adjacent property owners, and most of them were, the two in particular were the ones on the other side of the trees along Lone Pine. And they, after explaining to them, that the trees were going to stay there, that's going to be a buffer, they really didn't have any issue with it. I sent it over to Rockingham County Public Schools, because the school's right across the street, and also to VDOT. Received comment, and I believe I put those comments that I received back from the county out, that Kayla had sent over, I believe from the fire marshal's office. And then VDOT had a real small list of items, but it wasn't anything of any significance that probably would have been addressed anyway because of our land development regulations. So we do have to have a public hearing, a joint public hearing, and that's what was advertised for tonight.
Okay. Carl, you need to open, we're going to try to do this right this time. You need to open up your,
Do you need to close yours first?
no, not yet.
Okay.
Because you open in the middle.
All right.
So you open yours and say what you have to say, and then I'll open up the rest.
Hereby open this meeting of the Timberville Planning Commission to consider this rezoning application. And I guess we need to open the public hearing itself.
Yes. I'll open up the public hearing,
Okay,
and I'll open up the joint public
right.
And then I'll now open up the joint meeting of Timberville Planning Commission and the council for public comment. Right, I got it right?
Yep.
You get better at this now.
Yep.
So now, if anyone would like to make any public comment, please come up to the podium, give your name and address, and now it's time to ask questions. Anybody have any questions for Mr. Turner, or council, or planning commission, or anybody?
I'd like to
Okay.
clarify some things on the plat.
Sure.
And when I was looking at the property, I sketched out what I thought would work for roads in there. And so we had, I had Blackwell Engineering just take what I had drawn, and they put it on this plat. You all have a copy of that?
Yeah.
Well, you know, he just did what I asked him to do, but what I'd like to do, I think would improve the property is that this little strip right through here, I don't want to own that. And so it's between the road and the first lot, so that's about 80 feet right there. So what I'm going to ask him to do is to add 20 feet to each one of these lots to make the depth of it. And for two reasons, it just makes it a nicer lot. And also, the footprint of the house that they want to build is 39 by 55, which is about 2,100 square feet. And so in the town, the ordinances, that requires 110-foot front to back lot with the setbacks. So we're looking at increasing the lot sizes up to 120. And all the lots will be more than 7,500 square feet. There's a couple on there that he didn't get. And so then the question remains what to do with this back here. And so this area right here is really a drainage from the farm next to it, and also all the land down here. We're anticipating that the retention pond will go right here. And once we move this road up here, it moves all these roads up forward, that we might be able to extend this into a cul-de-sac into these woods and make 3 or 4 more extra lots to use this for something besides just wasting the property. And it's all going to be based upon us being able to get in there and determine that the ground is worth building on. You know, we don't want to have a bunch of clay and crap in there. If it's buildable, then we want to, and sturdy enough to put a road in, then we want to do that. And so we possibly could get, if we get the 46 now, 4 more would be 50, might be a total. But none of the company does not want to build duplexes, even though this is an R2. So we would be comfortable with proper to restrict it to single-family residence. That helps everything.
Are you making that proper?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I was told they didn't want to build duplexes to begin with. So, I mean, that just, the R2 still makes a nice lot. And given the price of things, it'd be nice to have everybody having an acre or 2 acres of flower. The reality is, in town, and trying not to give up farmland, like there's a lot of big push to keep everybody in town instead of developing the county. So this helps on both ends.
Okay.
Any questions?
Any questions? Mr. Turner? Okay. Thank you, sir.
We kept I think the VDOT also has put this road right here in case it ever wants to expand out.
Oh,
There'll be an access road there too, so that's just covered. What's required.
Anybody else? Mr. Spitzer, you have some questions for us?
Yeah, I think you might.
Okay. Yeah, come on up, please.
My father can't hear very well. So
That's fine.
I'm Paul Spitzer. That's my father, Clay Spitzer there.
Okay.
has the farm on the south side. His question was about the possible drainage on the back side, on the south side. He's wondering who that's going to be on. Because I reckon, like Mr. Terms says, a lot of over does come down to there.
Are you talking about down in this area?
No, I'm talking about, it'll be on the south side of his property, of the Carver property.
Over here. Well, come on, point to us so we know exactly what you're talking about.
Right through there. He's asking, he's coming down on that transfer up there. He wanted to know where the drainage ditch is going to be up there.
Okay.
On who it's going to be.
He's asking about the drainage between the property you're dealing on and their field there.
Yeah.
Have you all gotten that far in any discussions as far as where the drainage, how that would be addressed?
Actually, I don't think any of our property is going to drain their way. I think their property is going to drain this
That's what I'm
way.
trying to say. It's going to drain down across us, where some of it's come from
Yeah.
the
I think there's
offices
a
and
natural-
also across our fields also.
Yeah, there's a natural ditch through here, isn't there?
We were just wondering where the natural ditch is going to be.
Yeah.
On what side?
Well, we're going to do everything to make sure water don't flow this way.
Yeah.
It flows this way from all this and this, naturally, pond will be right there.
Okay.
Well, and when you get to your site plan phase, you'll have to address all of your
Oh,
erosion
yeah.
sediment control, so all
Yeah,
that will be
through the-
regulated through the county. So any issues related to runoff would be addressed by the county during the site plan phase through erosion and sediment control. And that's what they would have to do, is any flow coming from your property that has a natural grade, they would have to allow it to flow through to wherever it's gonna be, and then anything that they create, they would have to catch in some way. That's why he's talking about putting the bioretention pond where it would be on the property.
Yeah, I don't know if you probably couldn't see where he was pointing to, but in the tree area is where they're talking about putting the retention area for water, so everything would flow
Because everything's
into
going
that.
down that area.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, exactly.
Without a doubt.
It naturally goes there.
Yeah.
Any other questions, Paul? I don't think so. Okay.
So I reckon it's supposed to be all single family, right?
Yes, they just made an
And-
offer. Yep, they just offered that it would be, so, which we love single family homes. Okay. And any other comment? Then I'll close the public comment. And now I go back to the planning commission. You all have any more to discuss, or are you ready to make a recommendation? There's two of you here.
Well, and Sharon's here too. Sharon,
Oh, Sharon's
is part of
here.
that.
Yeah.
We discussed it, but we did not formulate a recommendation at our meeting.
Okay.
And I'm not certain if there's a consensus at the moment.
So
So,
we didn't have any objections during the meeting.
that's true.
Okay, there were no objections, but there's no recommendation. That's a first.
We're willing to recommend,
Okay.
but I wanted to ensure that that was the will of the rest of the members. I didn't want to speak out of turn.
Okay.
Yeah, I think as a planning commission, that you just need to call the question. Is there going to be a motion?
Yeah. Is
Or
there a
not.
motion? Yeah, is there a motion? Yes. Second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor?
There you go.
And we're good. So we recommend, but I just wanted to make sure that that
No
was,
change.
generally, we have a little more discussion prior to these
Right.
meetings, and we know exactly where we're gonna go.
Understood. Understood. I was just making sure there wasn't,
No, there was no friction, and
Okay.
certainly in the meeting, all of our concerns were addressed very well.
okay. So Carl, if you don't have anything else, would you like to close your planning commission?
I would like to close my planning commission meeting,
Okay.
and I hereby close this meeting of the Millville Planning Commission.
Okay, and we're closed, and we're now back into the regular council meeting. We got 2 minutes.
No, straight.
If we got it after 10 or 12 times, we have this whip. Okay, AC. Thank you, Carl. Thank you, Mitch. Public Works, AC, what do you have for us?
Do you want to continue on because you've got a recommendation?
I was so happy to make it through this, that I was good to go. Darn.
You're only halfway down your script.
I
Carl, why don't you
ruined
put him up to that?
it. I ruined it all. Okay, now we're up to the council. Does the council have any questions, concerns, comments, anything like that?
Maybe some for another time, but, you know, the wooded area of this plat that's down here, you know, would be perfect parking for American Legion if the town could ever get their hands on it.
It depends on how wet
Down.
it is too.
Down the road.
Yep.
With the retention pond, I mean, that's going to dry up
It might help, yeah.
the other half, just a little food for thought.
Okay.
I was just looking at it thinking it would be,
Perfect location.
it is, I mean, you ain't gonna get any closer. Anyway, no, that's all I want to say.
Okay. Any other comment from anyone? Then I'll need a motion, please.
How do we word this? Like, I'm willing to make the motion, but it's like, make a motion that we accept
Or
the,
just, yeah.
Recommendation.
yeah.
the recommendation from the planning commission as presented.
Yeah, from
Well,
R1, R2, you can say it
From-
that way.
You recommend the approval of the rezoning application.
Okay. I make a motion that we approve, oh, shoot,
You make a motion to recommend.
yes,
Right.
the
Application for rezoning.
the application for rezoning from R1 to R2.
There you go.
There we go.
Do I have a second?
I will second that.
Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? Go around the room.
Yes.
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 Okay. Hey, if anything, we have fun. Okay, thank you all. Now I can move on. Okay, public works, AC.
All right, not a whole lot on the list, but a few things I wanted to update you on. I sent out RFPs, requests for proposals for our search for an additional water source for the town. Hopefully, we'll receive some proposals by the August 7th deadline, which is what we set with the submissions. I'm also reaching out to several different agencies to see what kind of, if there's any type of funding that would be available to help with this process. We had our town engineer provided us with a proposal from a company quite a few months ago, whatever it was. But because of the cost that was associated with that proposal, we had to get additional proposals and costs associated with it. So once we get those in, we'll send them out to the Public Works Committee and let them look at those and talk to them about it, see what we're gonna, which way we're gonna go. The surveying for the Sparline Waterline project is complete. The plats have been delivered to Quentin's office, and they're working on getting the easement deeds ready so that we can get those signed and executed and recorded, and that way we can move on to the next step in that project. Memorial Park sidewalk project, a transportation alternatives grant pre-application has been submitted. Cost estimates and the schedule for the project were developed by VDOT. This would not be a quick process. It's the same, the Transportation Alternatives Program is the same program that we're using for the Macaulay Drive sidewalk. And so it wouldn't be a quick project. The timeline that VDOT provided shows preliminary engineering beginning in January of 2025 and construction completion by July of 2029. So the project may not be feasible through this process anyway. I've sent this out to council already, I believe. It's the Transportation Alternatives Program is an 80-20 program, which means that the town has to put up 20% of the cost. And VDOT's cost estimate came back at almost $2 million for that length of sidewalk. Now, they were working off of the way that the Transportation Alternatives Program works. You have to submit a pre-application so that you can submit the regular application later on. So we put that in. VDOT came up with these estimates, a lot of unknowns involved. So I think that price will come down some, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure if it'll come down enough where it makes it feasible for the town to enter into that, because if it would stay around the $2 million mark, we're looking at $400,000 that the town would have to fund for that, and that's probably a little bit greater expectation than is realistic. The building back here, the brick building, I was in contact with the owner this week, and his contractor has indicated that demolition of that building is supposed to begin next week. They had looked at improvements to it, trying to sell it. He couldn't get any offers that met his price point, what he needed to get out of it. So demolition is the only way to remedy that. If y'all recall, that property was preliminarily blighted by the planning commission quite a while ago. It wasn't determined to be immediate threat to anyone like the one that was on the corner of Church Street was. So we gave the property owner ample time, and property owners changed within that during that time period. We gave them ample time to try to market that because it is a historic structure, and it would have made a good, it would have had a good use at some point if somebody could have got for the price they needed. But unfortunately, that did not happen. So it looks like that building will be demolished. We received a certificate. Cecilia and I went down to a Flag Day ceremony. I don't know if anybody saw that, coverage that was done on that. It was hosted by Timberview Crossing, and the ceremony was led by the Fort Harrison Sons of the American Revolution and the Virginia Society Sons of the American Revolution. And it was a really nice event. Had speakers, they did a musket volley, and I know the local Boy Scouts were helping with the flag disposal, the old flags that were tattered and that needed to be disposed of. So it was a nice ceremony, and it was well attended and had a really good speaker. And we already talked about the vandalism in the park, so that's everything that I had on my list. Does anybody have any questions for me?
Okay, I think business and industry, I think you covered a lot of that.
Business and industry. So after, let's see, was that last month, before last month's meeting that we had the EDA meeting?
Yes.
May.
May, okay.
Yeah.
So during that meeting, after we went through the bond issuance items, the EDA talked about what can be done to help do stuff for the town. So Quentin was here for that meeting, and Quentin has arranged another meeting for economic development, not necessarily for the Economic Development Authority, but for economic development. And Quentin, if you want to give any details on that?
Sure, yeah, on July 31st, which I believe is a Monday. Let's see. Yeah, it's a Monday. At 11 o'clock, we have a meeting here with Jay Langston, who is the Executive Director of the Shenandoah Valley Partnership, which is in charge of economic development for the region. Chris Quinn, who's the Executive Director of the Chamber of Commerce. Keith May, who's the broker at Klein May Cottonwood Commercial. And Debbie and AC and me and Kevin Flint, who is the planning commissioner for this area from the county, to talk about incentivizing more residential development in the town specifically. One of the things that came up with the EDA was it being a strategic goal to try and get to 3,500 residents. If we can get to 3,500 residents, we can take in all the secondary streets in the town, which would be a huge boost to the town. So having someone from the Economic Development, the Business Association, the Realtors Association, especially someone that's involved with the developers, what steps could the town do in terms of spurring economic development to try and hit that critical mass of 3,500. So it's just going to be a meeting to talk through some of those things, what are the things the town could do or could consider. So that was something that came together as a result of that meeting. And,
When is that meeting?
July 31st at 11 a.m.
Where?
Here.
I'll email that on that, so everybody gets it.
Anything else you have, AC?
Is it open to the public?
It wasn't, but if you want to come, Greg, you certainly can.
I mean, once we have so many council.
Once you have so many council members there, it has to be. So,
Yeah.
I mean, the doors aren't going to be locked.
Well, and it ties in well with what you're working on also.
And I think, yeah, you could certainly come. You know, one of the things I knew you were already working on the one project, but that was kind of the reason of not talking to specific developers yet, but more talking about what do developers look for. But you're certainly invited, and I would say any other council members that want to be there. It's going to be, as soon as we get to what, 2 council members?
If we have 3 council members, it has to be, notification has to be given anyway. So.
Right, so it's gonna be an open meeting where we're gonna talk about economic development, specifically residential development.
And you might as well advertise it also. Councilman isn't available, the sides are available now, shows up and it just puts a damper and everything, so I'd say we just advertise it, goes out of business. Okay. Good with that? Okay, Parks and Rec.
Parks are getting a lot of use. We have reports that, maybe you were the one that told me, that you went down one day and there were people that were using the canoe kayak launch.
Yeah, I drove down and looked at the new range, and I haven't seen it yet, but there was so many cars there, I couldn't find a place to park.
That's good news.
Yeah.
I know Rob and I had launched up 259 and came down and got out at Timberville, so we've used it already ourselves.
My kids and I, we've come down, played pickleball down here multiple times, and the pickleball courts were well used, so, there's some improvements that need to be made, some lengthening of the apron on the back side of the court, so we don't twist ankles and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I know we'll see a new bench, if it's not already in there, donated by Cargill for the upper part of the park, for people sitting in their cars waiting for someone and just seeing the view, right beside between the parking and hopefully one day rails and trails, the corridor. And we had a meeting. Chris asked us to drop by because they're working on the, what would you call it?
The stage.
The stage.
The portable stage.
The portable stage. They're coming along real well on that. He wanted people to pick out colors. I wasn't going to pick out colors, but I listened to everyone else pick out colors for the metal roof and that kind of stuff. So I think Melinda ended up picking out the color. Or someone picked out the colors. Yeah. So we picked out the colors of that, so they're working on that. So I'm thinking in the next few weeks, we'll see the new stage, and it's going to be just fantastic. I think after they're done, they get the Broadway can make a folding platform.
Yeah, an
for it.
extension platform.
It's pretty neat, and I think that's all I have from Parks and Rec. It's just being used a lot.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I have one thing.
Yes, ma'am.
If you haven't seen the new Love Ladders.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that, yes.
Because several of us at the museum asked the art department at Broadway High School to do it. And I think they did a phenomenal
Yeah,
job.
great job.
Amazing job.
Yeah, it looks really good. Oh, thank you. Finance. Do we have enough about finance right now?
The auditors have been here once and have started on our audit for this year, so.
We'll do that in August.
Personnel? Anything, Chief?
No, sir.
AC? Personnel?
Lots going on.
Okay.
Employees are definitely staying busy. I don't know, I think Chris sent that fairly late today, but there was an email that went out and talked about the water meter upgrades. So if you haven't looked at your email for Chris's information about that, read that. That's an interesting email and has some good figures in it and gives an idea of the improvements that you make, that the council approves the funding for on those improvements, frees up our guys to do things like the in-house parks and rec construction projects. So.
Sharon, we're down to the museum. Do you have something to say for us?
Sure. Every Sunday from 2 to 4 is Bluegrass at the museum. Our new exhibit is going up our 25th anniversary of the museum. And Beverly Evans has loaned us 2 Ziegler quilts, where the Ziegler house is. 2 Ziegler quilts to put in the country store. And September 16th is Heritage Days.
And you said Bluegrass every Sunday?
Yes,
What time
from
is
2
that?
to 4.
2 to 4.
Mhm.
Okay.
We've had a good turnout.
And that's in the back of the building? Is that
Yes.
over there?
Mhm.
Okay. Awesome. And Bev, you got something for us, don't you?
I don't have anything, I'm on vacation.
You're on vacation?
No, I don't have anything really that we could probably find something to talk about, but maybe that's not a good idea.
I'll leave it up to you.
Hey, Bev, the next time that I work, I want you to come in because I want to take you to the basement. I want you to look at something.
That don't sound safe.
It's safe, but nobody knows about this wagon. And we want to know, and I said, the other night, I know Bev will know about this wagon.
Okay, when you work next?
The third Friday.
Well, I'll look on the chart.
Yes.
Okay, yes, ma'am, whatever you say, I will obey.
Thank you, sir.
I was only told if you're invited to the basement, you never accept that invitation. But, okay, we'll keep moving. Other business, anyone else have any other business right now?
Just something I wanted to say. I was looking at the town website today, and evidently it's been updated, and it looks great, whoever was working on it. The last council meeting, one of the citizens requested a directory of all of our local businesses, and it's all there now. I mean, every single one of them with contact information and everything.
It's
on
always
it.
been on there, I believe.
Really?
Mhm.
Okay, well, I just noticed it today, and I was on there, and I thought, well, that woman talked about it last time, and now it's there, and
Maybe it's easier to find now.
maybe, I don't know, but whoever works on the town website is doing a
Cecilia
great job.
does-
And
Cecilia
posting
does.
pictures on it and all that
Cecilia does
stuff.
a great job.
Yeah.
And the local news, what's happening, and, yeah.
Okay. And council, anything else? Public comment. Anybody else in the public want to make a comment? If so, come on up.
I would.
Hey, Rick.
I'd like to say that it went really well working with the town council and Austin Garber and the planning commission and his attorney and the engineering guy coming in and talking about this property out here. I mean, I'm impressed. It went really well. I appreciate your cooperation and help, especially Austin, man. He was helpful. And the property that's across from the park in the trees there, would the town be interested in that piece of land? Add to the park?
Definitely something we could consider.
Let's talk about that, yes. Yes.
I was gonna ask you.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that was, I guess we need to talk a little bit about it. I mean, yeah.
I think it's already started something.
All right, well, we'll talk about it.
No, yeah, I mean, we're always looking for more parking and more, something adds to the park. So yeah, let's keep that in mind when we start developing.
Yeah. We'll see how the final subdivision plat comes out for what land's left there
Mhm.
and being usable, whether it's just for a walking path or a parking lot.
Okay, awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Go once, going twice, meeting's adjourned.